Germany committed by migrants compared to the normal German population. These are official German government statistics. This is why German security experts are warning Merkel that the middle class in Germany is becoming, quote, radicalized. So if you refuse to listen to what people are saying, if you deluge villages of 150 people with 700 migrants, then yes, you're going to make a lot of people angry. Are all of them going to act out violently? No. But if you've got people on the edge of society who are already prone to this, who are hopped up on psychotropic drugs, just like we saw with the Joe Cox murder, then yes, those policies are going to lead to people acting out. So it remains to be seen if they will try and spin this into a narrative of the dangerous Pegida right wing in Germany. But it looks like it could be that way from early indications. And of course, we had another massive terror attack that was being plotted in Germany just a couple of weeks ago in Dusseldorf involving Syrian refugees planning to conduct a Paris-style massacre. It was in a few German newspapers. It barely got any media traction because, again, they don't want that narrative getting out. We had a report back in November, shortly after the Paris massacre. German government covered up terror attack at soccer stadium where they found explosives. There were police eyewitnesses. There were EMTs that said they saw the explosives. And of course, that story was buried. The stadium was evacuated, but they later claimed it was a false alarm. Again, because they didn't want that narrative getting out that Merkel has placed the security of her country under grave danger as a result of bringing in 1 million plus Muslim migrants. But if they can blame it on right-wingers, if they can blame it on Merkel's political opposition, then of course that kind of thing is to be welcomed. So we're going to see whether it turns out that this guy was, just a mental patient, a workplace grudge or whatever. But again, early indications show that they could be about to blame this on the right wing in Germany, which is going to help Angela Merkel. Surprise, surprise. We'll be back on the Alex Jones Show live with Lauren Southern. Don't go away. We are back on the Alex Jones Show, this June 23rd edition live. Now, the American Mirror reports NBC producer calls would-be Trump assassin good guy with a gun. Now, we saw, again, last week, this crazed individual, this illegal alien from the United Kingdom, try to grab an officer's gun at a Trump event and assassinate Donald Trump. That story got virtually no traction whatsoever. Can you imagine if a Trump supporter had tried to grab a cop's gun at a Hillary Clinton event and had tried to assassinate Hillary Clinton? They would milk the bejesus out of that for weeks on end. Yet this was barely reported. And in fact, we've got left-wing news outlets, which I'll get onto here in a second, even expressing their surprise about the fact that this Trump assassination plot got so little attention. But the American Mirror reports, in an effort to make a smug attack on the conservative position that the best way to fight a bad guy with a gun is a good guy, an NBC producer tweeted that the failed assassin who tried to murder Donald Trump could be considered a good guy with a gun. Matt Maurer, an associate producer for NBC Universal since 2014, tweeted late Tuesday night that anyone who kills a Republican nominee is considered deserves the same praise as someone who tries to stop a mass killing. So again, he wrapped it up in this little joke. But there's this huge assassination fetish on the left when it comes to Donald Trump. Remember the guy who stormed the stage back, I believe it was in March, while Trump was giving his address. They tackled him. He almost got on the stage. What happened in the aftermath? Was he denounced as a violent radical, as somebody who had tried the same thing at a Hillary Clinton event would have been? No, he was given a platform by CNN to regale us all about how his act was a brave act of social justice, confronting the Nazi, the fascist Donald Trump. He wasn't denounced at all. He was mollycoddled. He was promoted. He was venerated by the same leftist media that, for example, venerated the Ferguson rioters immediately after they burned down that town. Time magazine, in defense of rioting. So again, it's no surprise that these people are emboldened because they're never castigated, they're never called out. And in relation to that, we've got this article out of bustle.com. Again, this is a left-wing publication. Headline, yes, that Donald Trump assassination attempt should have gotten more attention. It's kind of a bummer that the recent assassination attempt on Donald Trump hasn't been bigger news. On Saturday, a 20-year-old British man, Michael Sanford, tried to take a weapon from an officer at a Trump rally in Las Vegas with the goal of killing the presumptive Republican nominee, according to multiple reports. Trump said Wednesday on Fox Business he didn't hear of the attempt until he saw it on TV. And I'm guessing many Americans didn't hear of it. So again, this is a left-wing writer, and this is not the only one. There was also an article in The Independent expressing her surprise that this story didn't get as much attention. Now, I addressed this in a video that I put out a few days ago, crazy, violent left-wing extremists, which we're going to play in a second here. Again, exploring the complete hypocrisy between, for example, David Duke coming out and endorsing Donald Trump, Trump having to disavow it over and over again, yet complete silence when it comes to Omar Mateen, on the record, according to his friends, as having expressed support for Hillary Clinton. Was Hillary Clinton asked to disavow Omar Mateen? No. So here's that report, crazy, violent, left-wing extremist. Let's go to the clip. You don't have the clip? Okay, well, we need to get that ready. So again, it goes to the heart of the hypocrisy. This guy planned the Trump assassination for a year. He went down there, he went to a gun range the day before. He planned to carry out this assassination. You can say it was botched. You can say it was never actually likely to happen, but he tried to pull it off. And this is after, again, 8+ months of people on Twitter every day tweeting, "Kill Donald Trump." This is Facebook pages that remain up for months saying, "I want to effing kill Donald Trump." Meanwhile, use the word faggot on Facebook, you're banned for 30 days. This is the environment in which these people are being brainwashed. You know, top rappers at the Coachella Music Festival getting up and performing F-Trump anthems that specifically, within the lyrics of the song, call for caving Trump's head in with a shovel. You know, I've got a chopper in the trunk for Donald Trump. That was another one. It was on YouTube for months. It wasn't even age restricted on YouTube. And now YouTube says that any negative comments about another person constitute harassment and cyberbullying, and your video is likely to be deleted. Meanwhile, you've got these punks rapping about how they want to physically kill Donald Trump. It's on there for months. It's not even age restricted. So again, amazing double standard. And do we have the guest now, or do we have the clip? So here's the clip. This is the video I made a couple of days ago. Again, analyzing this complete hypocrisy when it comes to violence on the left and violence on the right. Here's the clip. Okay, leftists, let's play your game. MP Joe Cox was murdered by a violent, crazy, anti-EU right-wing extremist. That means all Conservatives and Brexit voters should be guilt-tripped into accepting responsibility for Joe Cox's death. That means voting to leave the EU would be disgracing Joe Cox's memory and siding with the murderer. So what about Michael Sanford, the British citizen who tried to assassinate Donald Trump? Is everyone who screamed about Donald Trump being a fascist, a Nazi, and literally Hitler responsible for the assassination attempt? Are the 600,000 Brits who signed a petition to ban Trump from entering the UK to blame for radicalising the would-be assassin? Are the innumerable left-wing pro-EU politicians who labelled Trump a threat to democracy culpable for the crime? Is it time to tone down the anti-Trump rhetoric? So what about Omar Mateen, the gay nightclub gunman? He was a registered Democrat, and he supported Hillary Clinton. Does that make Hillary Clinton responsible for Omar Mateen's rampage? Does that mean Hillary Clinton should suspend her campaign out of respect for the Orlando victims? Does that mean Hillary Clinton should be repeatedly asked for the next 3 weeks if she disavows Omar Mateen?
Will you unequivocally condemn David Duke?
And second, how do you feel about the David Duke quasi-endorsement?
So what about James Wesley Howell, the man caught with guns and explosives on his way to a gay pride parade in LA. He was a Bernie Sanders supporter. Does that make Bernie Sanders responsible for Howell's plot? Does that mean Bernie Sanders should suspend his campaign in order to prevent other Bernie supporters from becoming radicalized? Does that mean Bernie Sanders should be repeatedly asked for the next 3 weeks if he disavows James Wesley Howell?
Why not disavow David Duke?
All right, I disavow, okay?
You see, leftists only want to play this game when they can change the rules on a whim. They lie, they cheat, they misdirect. After months of ignoring violent anti-Trump protesters, the regressive left is suddenly all concerned about violent right-wingers. Give me a break. You don't care about right-wing violence. In fact, you welcome it, because you can use it as grief porn to callously push your political agenda. Meanwhile, crazy, hysterical, radicalized leftists continue to plot and carry out violence, safe in the assumption that the mainstream media will do everything in its power to twist the narrative and bury the truth. Okay, that's the video I put out on YouTube a couple of days ago. Go and check that out. But now we have our guest, and we got a few minutes here, but we'll get more into it after the break. Lauren Southern of The Rebel Media. Lauren, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me, Paul.
Okay, now, of course, we saw you at Bilderberg in Dresden there. You've been touring around Europe. Now you're in London. And you appeared on Sky News. I was watching the Brexit coverage earlier today on Sky News, and suddenly out of the blue, I didn't even know you were going to be on. You popped up there in a gun control debate with this erratic, angry old man, and it was just a one long exercise in ad hominems. Tell us what happened.
Yeah, that was an interesting appearance. I was actually quite nervous going on because this guy has written 29 books or something ridiculous like that. But we get on air and he just starts screeching at me, Miss Southern, everything you're saying is fallacious. You're young, you're Canadian, you don't know what you're talking about, you're a libertarian, you're irrelevant. And I just kept saying, that's not an argument. That's not an argument. And it was just hilarious to watch. The Sky News host actually had to intervene and say, you know you're on live TV, right? To the lefty I was arguing about gun control with, because all he had was ad hominems. He had presented zero arguments, and he would not answer me when I asked him, how will any of these proposed amendments stop the shooting in San Bernardino, the shooting in Orlando? None of those proposed amendments that the Democrats are having a hissy fit in the House right now over would have stopped these shootings. It is pure virtue signaling, and this guy, he just had a mental breakdown on live TV because he had zero arguments.
And he was there engaging in actual misogyny. Now we go on about, leftists crying misogyny over and over again on false grounds. This guy about 10, 15 times emphasized, well, at one point he called you a high school student, but then he emphasized the word miss, over and over again. This is a supposed leftist trying to emphasize the fact that you're a woman as if that somehow wins him the argument. What in the world did he think he was doing?
Well, yeah, it was very strange because I can't imagine what the response would be from people if this had happened and I were a leftist woman and he were a right-wing man. Can you imagine if some NRA guy came on and was arguing with a lefty chick and was like, Miss, you don't know what you're talking about. Miss, you're a high school student. Miss, you are too young. Miss, you are Canadian. Just so patronizing. And, I don't typically call things sexist, so I wouldn't necessarily call it sexist, but he would certainly, if that were the other way around and he were the...
Exactly. We'll be back after the break with Lauren Southern. Don't go away. We'll be right back. We are back on the Alex Jones Show Live with me, your host, Paul Joseph Watson. Now, Lauren's debate with that gun grabber on Sky News was really a sight to see. You can go and check it out on her Twitter page, but I want to move on because we've got about 5 minutes left here. Lauren, you've been in Europe for a few weeks now. You've been to some of the migrant areas, some of the migrant camps. Last week, I saw you visited Calais, which, of course, is where many of them are trying to sneak into the United Kingdom. From what you saw, how many of the migrants there were, genuine refugees, and how many were economic migrants attempting to reach the UK to abuse the welfare system? Do we have Lauren? Okay. So basically, you can go and watch the video on her channel on the Rebel Media. She goes and asks these migrants who are at these camps, you know, where they're from for a start. If you ask them where they're from, the vast majority were not Syrian refugees. In fact, I think she only found